Healing from POTS, dysautonomia and Lyme. How I survived fainting 13 times a day. Medical dismissal. And finally found the real cure. There is a symptom spiral, and I'd like to know if this is what it is like for you. So please tell me, does this sound familiar? Your heart races when you stand up. You're exhausted, but you can't sleep. You're bloated, you're foggy, you're anxious, and there is no laugh that can explain it. You've tried eating clean, meditating, even antidepressants. Still, your body's falling apart. Survival mode and shutdown mode. It could be POTS. It could be Lyme. It could actually be none. And if no one's helped you connect the dots, this episode will. Hi, I am Carola. I am a naturopathic doctor, herbalist, FDN, and bioenergetic practitioner. You probably don't know me, but today I want to share my story with you because after 8 long, excruciating years of suffering, fighting, and searching for answers, I finally found a cure. And it might just save you or someone that you love. You see, 9 years ago, I was living in bliss. I had just married the love of my life. The future felt infinite, with full of possibilities. Then after only 3 months, everything came crashing down. I was in Chicago for a training in bioenergetic medicine. Everything seemed normal, but the moment I got home, my body turned on me. I went from being a healthy, vibrant woman to being completely bedbound. Completely bedbound. Like, I wasn't just tired and I wasn't just weak. I was fainting 13 to 15 times a day. Not once, not twice. 13. Every single day. My blood pressure would plummet without warning. I couldn't bear to stand. I would collapse. I couldn't move. I had to be pushed in a wheelchair. I remember every single fainting episode because each time felt like dying. Here goes. First, about 10 minutes before it hit, an unbearable wave of exhaustion would take over me. Like my body was shutting down, cell by cell. I fought it every time, but it always won. Then I'd be forced to sit or lie down, because if I didn't, I'd hit the floor anyway. Next, my body would start to disappear. Some days my arms would go numb first, other days my legs would give out. Then the worst part, my brain would start shutting down. I couldn't think. I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. I could hear my own heartbeat slowing down, slower and slower. And all I could do was pray it wouldn't stop completely. I didn't even pray to wake up. I prayed, God, please, just don't let me die. You know what? Have you ever seen Awake, the movie with Hayden Christensen? The one where he's under general anesthesia. He cannot move, can't scream, can't open his eyes, but he's aware of everything. That was me. 13 to 15 times a day. Doctors were clueless. They really had no idea what was going on with me. I called every colleague I knew. Nothing. So naturally, I ended up in the hospital. Test after test, confused faces, and then I just got a label. Dysautonomia. POTS. No cause, no solution, just a name. And I was supposed to live like this, not knowing what caused it and not knowing what to do to actually feel better. I wasn't ready to accept that. Here's what bothered me the most. I was born healthy. I had never, ever experienced anything like this. This thing came out of nowhere. One day I was fine, and the next, my body was failing me. This doesn't make any sense. I had to figure out what was wrong with me. That's when I remembered someone. Her name was Joyce. We had met briefly at a conference in Park City. She was a rock star, a brilliant practitioner who thrived on the weirdest cases. I was desperate, so I flew to Ohio, and that's when everything changed. Upon my arrival, Joyce ran every test she had. Bioenergetically, my body was so weak that it barely gave any feedback. But 2 things did stand out: my heart and my adrenals. Atrial fibrillation plus adrenal burnout equals total exhaustion. You see, I wasn't just tired. I was completely depleted. The kind of exhaustion that no amount of sleep could ever fix. My body wasn't just shutting down. It had no energy left to fight. Joyce looked at me and said, "Honey, we need to bring your energy back to life." First, she gave me a powerful herbal cocktail, one designed to reignite my system. This was a blend of heart-strengthening herbs and adrenal-restoring botanicals. And for the first time in months, I could stand. Not for long, but longer. 25% better. And that felt like resurrection. And let me tell you, when you've been bedbound and wheelchair-bound, standing feels like a damn miracle. Was I healed? No, I was maybe 25% better. But let's be clear, 25% better was still better than every other doctor had given me, because at least now I had a beginning. What I didn't know was that the battle had just started, that it would take 8 more years before I would finally find the actual cure, a real tangible cure. But you know what? Something else had started that day. That herbal cocktail sparked something in me. It wasn't just a remedy. It was a lifeline, a seed of hope. And that seed would grow because those very herbs, the ones that helped me take my first real steps again, they became the foundation of my obsession with traditional Chinese medicine. They became the reason I studied herbalism. It was the first thing that gave me my energy back when nothing else did. They became the inspiration for Boost, the first formula I ever created, and still my best-selling one. And it might just be the beginning of everything for you. You don't need a miracle. You just need a beginning. Like I said before, it took 8 long years. 8 years of searching and of hearing doctors telling me, this is just how your life is now. Accept it and get used to it. But I am sharing my story today because I don't want you or anyone else to take 8 long years to heal. I don't want you to be gaslit by doctors who slap a name on your suffering and send you home with a prescription and no answers. Because if you've ever walked out of a clinic with more questions than answers or hope, this part is for you. They told me I wouldn't be able to have kids. Then other doctors told me that being pregnant might cure me. They gave me compression stockings, electrolytes, told me to drown myself in salt, and of course, antidepressants. And then, Florinef, a steroid, none of this promised a cure. They were band-aids at best. Does this sound familiar to you? Maybe you've been patching symptoms too. Maybe that's because no one's helped you to get to the root. You see, diagnoses tend to stack up. So let me read you my list. The kind of random recycled diagnoses they hand out when they don't really know what's wrong. Maybe yours looks just as scattered, and maybe you've got your own version of this chart. See, through 8 years, I collected diagnoses like they were stickers on a medical chart. Let me tell you mine. Of course, dysautonomia and POTS. Then came fibromyalgia, adrenal fatigue, hypoglycemia, and diabetes because of my sugar. Hashimoto's thyroiditis, estrogen dominance, my hormones were whack, endometriosis, PCOS, IBS and chronic constipation, sleep apnea, and wait for it, narcolepsy. Yeah, they thought I had narcolepsy because of my fainting. And they even told me I had cancer. Yes, for 4 months, I believed I had cancer. I even sat with my husband and I started saying my goodbyes for real because things were that bad. I wasn't just sick. I was slipping away. I see it. I've lived it. And you don't have to stay there. Because here's the strange thing about surviving something that almost breaks you. Eventually, the absurdity catches up with you. To this day, my husband and I still laugh about it. Especially the narcolepsy diagnosis we fully believed. I believed the doctors when they told me with a certainty that it was just really ignorance, dressed as authority. Because sometimes when you've cried enough, the only thing left to do is laugh. And if you've ever felt your body fading while people around you act like you're fine, you're not alone. But here's the thing, why does this happen? Why are we so sick and still invisible? Why are millions of women being dismissed, misdiagnosed, or told it's just anxiety? Or worse, dysautonomia, POTS, or any other type of dysautonomia? Let me tell you what I discovered, and it changed everything. Have you ever gone to the doctor and known something is wrong, but every single test comes back normal? Well, what if I told you the test was the problem? Because here's the truth nobody tells you. Standard Lyme tests were never built to find real Lyme disease. Not the chronic cases, not the neurological cases, and not the ones like mine, not the ones like yours. Let me break it down really simple. The Lyme bacteria is called Borrelia burgdorferi. It is a master of disguise, and it doesn't come alone. It brings friends like Babesia, Bartonella, Mycoplasma, Epstein-Barr, cytomegalovirus, like the list goes on. And together, they destroy your immune system. We're talking about a full body breakdown, like AIDS level collapse. Your body tries to fight it, but it can't because the bacteria outsmarts it. Here's how. Lyme wears a special jacket called an OSP. That stands for, like fancy name, outer surface protein. It's what your immune system looks for to say, oh, that is the bad guy. So Lyme is very smart. It takes off the jacket and throws it into the ground and runs away. And your immune system is still chasing the jacket, still attacking the thing it left behind, not the actual infection. Imagine you're at the airport and you're a security guard. And then you've been told to stop anyone in a denim jacket. Lyme walks through wearing a hoodie, drops a denim jacket on the floor, and just walks right past you. You arrest the jacket, but the real threat is already on the plane. That's what's happening inside your body if you have Lyme. And your lab tests, they're only looking for denim jackets too. So, if the bacteria took off its jacket, you test negative. Even if you have brain fog, even if you're collapsing from exhaustion, dysautonomia, chronic fatigue syndrome, you name it. Even if your joints hurt, your heart races, and your nervous system is melting down. You go to the doctor and you're told you're fine. Now, here's what really pisses me off. A little bit of history. In 1994, there was a meeting behind closed doors called the Dearborn Conference. Public health officials, testing labs, and vaccine developers came together and did something most people still don't know about. They changed the definition of Lyme disease. I am not exaggerating. They rewrote the rule. They said, you only have Lyme if you have a swollen knee, arthritis, symptoms. That's it. So if your Lyme disease attacks your brain, your heart, your hormones, too bad. You don't count. But here's the part that most people never hear. At the exact same time, a Lyme vaccine was being developed, and that vaccine needed to look like it worked. So what happened? They manipulated the test. They deleted key markers like OSPA and OSPB. Remember the jackets? So that only about 15% of real Lyme cases would test positive. That way, if someone got the vaccine and still got sick, the test wouldn't detect it. So they could say, look, no positives, the vaccine works. But it didn't. The vaccine was made from OSPA, the same outer surface protein jacket that Lyme uses to shut down your immune system. And instead of protecting the people, it made them sick. Some got worse. Some became disabled. It triggered a full body immune collapse. Eventually, the vaccine was pulled from the market, but not because of safety. They claimed because of a lack of interest. You're right, for Lyme disease. See, this wasn't just bad policy. It was a system protecting itself at the expense of millions of patients. That's why today many refer to it as the Lyme crime, a coordinated cover-up that it feels really bad, but it left millions misdiagnosed and untreated. Entire advocacy groups are still calling for a criminal investigation because the same people who helped rig the test still profit from it. They left people like me and probably people like you in the dark, sick, erased. And the worst part is that broken test, the one that was never designed to find neurological Lyme, chronic Lyme, immune disabling Lyme, is still being used right now. So if your Lyme disease shows up of dysautonomia, POTS, anxiety, depression, weight gain, insomnia, rage, panic attacks, memory loss, or hormonal collapse, guess what? You don't get a diagnosis. You don't get help, and you don't even get believed. That includes me. So here's the kicker. I was never bitten by a tick because Lyme isn't just from ticks either. It can come from mosquitoes, fleas, lice, mites. It can be sexually transmitted. It can be passed from mother to baby. It's been found in air, water, even soil. Over 60 ways to get infected. And still doctors only ask, have you ever been bitten by a tick? So no, this isn't about a camping trip gone wrong. This is about a global, invisible epidemic. And millions of people, especially women, are being told, it is just stress. It's just postpartum. It is just in your head. Let me be clear. Babesia destroys your red blood cells like malaria. It's that bad. Bartonella inflames blood vessels and mimics trauma. Mycoplasma hides inside your white blood cells and eats away your brain and your nerves. Epstein-Barr virus and cytomegalovirus suppress your immune system so badly it cannot fight anything off. And when they all gang up on your system, your immune system doesn't just struggle. It collapses. Your body starts attacking ghosts. You're in a war zone and the enemy keeps changing clothes. Your nervous system spirals. Your gut shuts down. Your brain misfires. And the doctors, they look at your labs and say, everything looks normal. You look perfectly healthy to me. This is not a coincidence. This is not rare. This is a system that was built to fail you. And you deserve to know the truth. It's not that your body is broken. And it's not that you're tired or you're weak or you're chronically fatigued. It's that your body has been ambushed completely. And nobody warned you this could happen. So let me tell you what does work. What I use in my clinic. First, bioenergetic scans. They don't rely on antibodies. They scan for frequency imbalances tied to Borrelia, Babesia, Bartonella, mold, and more. They listen to your body, not your paperwork. Also, muscle testing. This isn't magic. It's neurophysiology. We test your body's response to pathogenic signatures. If it weakens when exposed to Lyme frequencies, that means it's there. I also recommend dark fields microscopy. They can actually look at your live blood under a microscope, sometimes even catch spirochetes in early stages before they hide in biofilms. So here's the truth in plain English. ELISA and Western blot look for antibodies, but Lyme shuts that system down. Remember the jackets we were talking about? Bioenergetic scans detect the frequency of Lyme and its friends. Muscle testing shows real-time nervous system response to a pathogen. You guessed it, Lyme. And dark fields microscopy may show early spirochetes, but not if it's hidden. But it does help a lot. So here is the bottom line. If you're chronically sick, gaslit by doctors, misdiagnosed, and still being told nothing's wrong, it is not in your head. It's in your blood. It's in your nervous system. And it's screaming for somebody to listen. So please look somewhere else. That is the smart choice, to actually look for answers. I also call it the holistic choice. And it starts right now. And that is one of the greatest tools I can offer you. Don't take the system too seriously. Walk into every waiting room, every hospital, every misdiagnosis with as much humor, grace, and lightness as you can possibly muster. Doctors are not gods. You're not here to be a patient forever. Mark my words. You're here to heal. And if it's not happening fast, look somewhere else. I am telling you this so you remember. Doctors are not gods. Their words are not final, and their diagnoses are not prophecies. I've met women who know more about their own bodies than the specialist they waited 6 months to see. Trust yourself. Now, I believe there are doctors out there who do think outside the box and that have access to the correct information from a root cause perspective. Don't get me wrong. But you see, it's not always the doctor's fault. It's what they've been taught, to trust the test. And if a test is negative, then the patient is okay. They're taught to cut, to suppress symptoms, to prescribe meds, not to heal, not to investigate root causes, not to look at the full picture. And yes, there are wonderful doctors out there. I've met a few. But when you're dealing with something complex, layered, and invisible, don't you dare settle for a couple of pills and a name for your symptoms. Because healing deserves more than that. So take what helps, leave the rest, and never hand over your power just because someone wears a white coat. And if you're wondering, what gives me the right to say all of this? Let me tell you, because I didn't just give up on doctors, okay? I gave them every chance. I did what you're probably doing right now. Searching, trusting, hoping someone could finally figure it out. You'd think after traveling the world, seeing doctors in every country I could afford to fly to, I would have found a decent MD who could actually see the full picture. But no, 51 doctors. And still no answers. 51. And all of them had opinions, but not one of them had an answer. So I did what I should have done from the start. I took matters into my own hands. I stopped being just a patient, and I became a student. I went straight to my colleagues. I had already trained in bioenergetic medicine and homeopathy before my illness, so I used it. I shadowed them. I watched them work, but I didn't stop there. I actually left my husband alone for a couple of months so I could move in with 2 of them. I lived in Ohio and then in Chicago. Because when you're that sick and that committed, you'll do whatever it takes. I wasn't just visiting practitioners. I was living inside the medicine, waking up with it, sleeping next to it, studying it while it was healing. And for the first time in years, I felt a sense of hope that this time I would actually heal. Because as they were teaching me, they were also saving. Their knowledge wasn't just clinical. It was soul-level wisdom passed from one healer to another healer. That's how far I went. That's how far I always go. I was a patient and a practitioner at the same time. And let me tell you something. It was not my degrees. It was not my certifications. It was not the textbooks or the hospitals. It was those practitioners, the real healers, who saved my life. The ones who had secrets you won't find in medical journals. Trust me, I looked. Secrets passed from practitioner to practitioner. And now I am one of them. I know I said it at the beginning, but let me say it again. You probably don't know me. That's because I've spent the last 12 years in hiding. Before I fell sick, I was focused on days packed with clients and non-stop training. And the next 8, I was learning like my life depended on it. Because it did. There were nights my heart felt like it was about to give out. There were days I wasn't sure if I'd live to see the next one. And while in the past I was collecting diagnoses, I started collecting knowledge. And that's when everything changed. Because if you've been dismissed, misdiagnosed, or made to feel like your symptoms are just stress, you deserve better. You deserve someone who's lived it. And more importantly, you deserve to know there is another way. First, let me be clear. I've healed completely from dysautonomia and POTS. Completely. Not managing. Not in remission. Gone. And for Lyme disease and several co-infections, I have 0 symptoms. 0. And in my dark blood tests, appears 100% clean. And I'd also like to talk about all those other diagnoses I mentioned earlier, remember? I got those too. Some of them were real, like estrogen dominance, PCOS, infertility, adrenal dysfunction. Those hit hard and they were real. But the others, remember cancer, narcolepsy? Absolutely not. Those were nothing but fear-based guesses handed to me by doctors who didn't have the full picture. I had to learn how to tell the difference between what was true and what was just ignorance wrapped in a white coat. And if you've got a stack of diagnoses and still no answers, maybe you're in the wrong place. For your information, here are some of my credentials, so you know who I am. I am a naturopathic doctor. I am a certified holistic health practitioner. I'm also a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. I am an herbalist. I studied traditional Chinese medicine like my life depended on it. I am a specialist in bioenergetic medicine and bioscanning. Also, energetic acupuncture, endocrinology, and gynecological herbalism. And for the emotional work most people skip, heart math and resonance repatterning. But honestly, what really changed everything were the secrets I learned from the world's best healers. The ones who taught me how to actually listen to the body, not just study it, heal it. This wasn't textbooks learning. It was real work, embodied wisdom. Spoiler alert, these are the ones that saved my life. And if you've tried everything and nothing has worked, it is not because something is wrong with you. It is because the root cause has not been yet addressed. while I was healing, I was also learning, not just about my body, but about all the mystery illnesses Western medicine still can't explain. At the lowest point of my journey, when I couldn't hold a pregnancy, when I couldn't hold a conversation, when I could barely hold myself upright, I had the gift of learning from some of the most brilliant minds in hormonal root cause healing. Abiba Ram was one of them. Her work showed me how to use food, herbs, and nature to regulate hormones with both gentleness and precision. At that point in my life, I also circled back to where it all began. Energy medicine, meridians, acupuncture. The invisible circuitry I'd first trained in now was saving me. And that's when I found Jill Blakeway. She is the rock star of energy medicine and women's health. Fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, she owns that space. Jill does not just treat symptoms. She sees the whole person, body, mind, energy, all of it, just like I do. She is a master of herbs for conception, pregnancy, postpartum recovery, everything that matters to women at the most vulnerable times. And she explains it better than anyone in her book, Energy Medicine. She breaks down how acupuncture moves qi, the vital life force coursing through us. At the Genova Center in New York, they do this work in the real world, modern, clinical, and profoundly human. Acupuncture to heal and to balance. Body work that restores even for infertility. She also has virtual wellness for women anywhere in the world. Jill Blakeway is the reason I remembered what true healing looks like. Her work in energy medicine and fertility is not only groundbreaking, it is soul-saving. Because here's the truth nobody says out loud. If your hormones are off, nothing sticks. Not your healing, not your energy, not your results, and not even your best intentions. You can be the most disciplined woman in the world, eating clean, taking supplements, doing all the right things. But if your cortisol is tanked, your blood sugar's on a roller coaster, or your estrogen's unhinged, or your thyroid is running on fumes, you will still feel like you're failing. And it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you are missing the foundation. You are missing one of the most powerful things your body has. And this is one of the most powerful things I have learned. Hormones are everything. Not just for periods, not just for fertility, but for your energy, your blood sugar, your weight, your anxiety, your mood, your brain. Because without hormonal balance, healing doesn't hold. It slips, it unravels, and it keeps resetting. Jill didn't just help me understand fertility, she helped me decode collapse. Collapse of energy, collapse of hope, collapse of every system in my body. She taught me how to rebuild from the bottom up, layer by layer. And yes, I got my second baby. But what I really got was a blueprint I now use with every single client. That work, combined with what I lived through, became my 1 month to hormone balance with Holistic. That's the reason why I created Boost, and is the reason I formulated my 7 signature Holistic supplements in the kit to do more than just mask symptoms. Each one is layered. Each one is designed to target the full root system of hormone health. That's why it's a kit. It's not just what hurts, but why it's hurting. It is not just one pill for PMS. You need a system, because if PMS is off, I'm pretty sure a lot of other hormonal imbalance is going on. So it's not just the PMS symptoms, but the overwhelmed liver behind it. Not just the anxiety, but the cortisol dysfunction behind that. Because real healing has layers, and your supplements should match that. So, whether you're struggling with PMS, thyroid issues, burnout, brain fog, or menopause chaos, there's a formula for the layer that you're in. For instance, my supplement Boost won't give you a fake energy kick. It is made to address what most people miss. See, when we're talking about fatigue, we usually just reach for something to wake us up. Everyone's go-to: coffee, matcha, or even B12 shots. But real energy isn't about stimulation. It is about regulation. Boost works because it addresses layers, not just the fatigue or the cortisol dysfunction behind it, not just the cravings, but the blood sugar swings underneath, not just the anxiety, but the nervous system stress no one is treating. Because when your nervous system is in survival mode, the last thing your body needs is another push. What it needs is a reset. That's what Boost was built to do naturally. So, if you've tried the quick fixes and still feel off, this might be the missing layer. If you're wondering where to start, I've made it really simple. You see, inside our 1 month to hormone balance with Holistic, we have 3-step system inside. Number 1, balance your nervous system. Number 2, regulate your hormones. And number 3, drain and kill parasites. These are the layers I had to heal to get my life back. And if you need help figuring out where you are in the process, I've got you. You can download my free hormone reset guide at theholisticdetox.com. You can check out the free resources there, or you can actually text me directly at Holistic or even email me. I'll walk you through it because healing doesn't have to be confusing and you don't have to figure it out alone. That is why we built an entire kit, support system. We have email. You have a health coach at your hands just by getting the kit. So let's rebuild your foundation. Let's rebuild you. Remember, I am here to help you find your beginning. So back to my story. I'd like to tell you how ignorance saved me. Everything I was going through was preparation, but not the kind you'd expect. Not to become a world-renowned naturopath, not to build a supplement company, and not to write protocols and lead a healing movement. I thought it was, but it wasn't. No, it was preparation to simply not die. And here's what I need you to understand. This wasn't strength. It wasn't willpower. It wasn't even bravery. It was ignorance. Yes, ignorance. Ignorance is bliss. You see, that is what saved me. The universe was protecting me, giving me only what I could handle at the time. Just enough to keep knocking on doors. Just enough to keep chasing hope. Just enough to meet the people who would save my life. Because if I had known the full truth, if someone had sat me down and said, you have chronic Lyme disease, several co-infections, dysautonomia, POTS, and your heart could give out at any moment, I would have stopped. I would have shut down, curled up in bed, stayed there frozen. I would have been too scared to move, too overwhelmed to actually live. Because when the full truth hits all at once, it doesn't always set you free. Sometimes it paralyzes you. And that is exactly what I'm telling you, that ignorance saved me. Because if I had known how bad it really was, I would have missed, everything that came next. I never would have flown across the world chasing answers, or climbed Petra in Jordan, gone skiing alone, endured 3 heartbreaking miscarriages, and still tried again, had 2 miracle babies, build a practice helping thousands of women, or live the moments that became my medicine. I actually once wrote lines in my diary that said something like this. I fainted in airplanes and brushed it off as low blood pressure. I swam with sea lions. I danced at a Kygo concert with my husband till 4 a.m. I sailed in La Paz, miles away from any ER or doctor, because deep down, even through the fog, fear, and the confusion, I knew I wasn't fine. There was a whisper, a quiet, persistent, the kind of voice that doesn't come from panic, but from truth. That whisper said, this is more serious than they're telling you. Keep searching. It wasn't strength. It wasn't logic. It wasn't even hope. It was instinct. It was survival. It was the part of me that still knew. Doctors, they don't see the full picture, but you can, and you must. And that whisper, it saved my life. Because remember, if I had known the full picture, if somebody sat me down and said, you have chronic Lyme, Babesia, Bartonella, dysautonomia, and your heart could give out, I would have shut down and never gotten out of bed. I wouldn't have made it through those 8 years. That is the paradox of looking fine. That's the contrast. I was living fully while falling apart. And it only happened because I didn't know. I didn't know how sick I was. That ignorance protected me. It kept me moving. It kept me hoping. And that whisper, it kept me alive. And now, I want to be that whisper for you. If you feel like something's off, but no one believes you. If you're living in a body that's screaming for help, if you're in the place I was, confused, dismissed, and searching, then I need you to hear this. You are not imagining this. You're not too far gone, and you're definitely not done. You're just at the beginning, and I am here to walk right beside you. Now, let me tell you about the white coats and the woo-woo. And I definitely wouldn't have gone searching for the people who actually saved my life. The ones without Harvard degrees, the ones without the white coats, the ones you won't see on a hospital brochure, but who held the wisdom my body was desperately crying for. Because my generation was raised to believe that healing wears a white coat, that doctors are gods, that anything outside that system is woo-woo, unsafe, or not real. But thank God we're breaking that, because there are good and bad doctors everywhere. There are brilliant minds in humble clinics, just as there are blind ones in prestigious hospitals. Even my psychologist sat across me, gentle but urgent, and said, "You have to stop playing around. You need to be admitted to a hospital." A patient of mine, she also had Lyme disease. And just like you, she was only 2 years older, and her heart gave out. She died. But here's what no one says out loud. Her symptoms weren't anything like mine. She fainted sometimes. She was tired, depressed, but she wasn't fainting like me, like 13 times a day. She didn't have stabbing chest pain that made her question her every single heartbeat. She didn't wake up each morning wondering if she'd make it to the night like I did. And still, she died. She died with Lyme. She died under medical supervision. She died doing all the right things. My psychologist wasn't trying to scare me. She was trying to save me. But what she didn't understand was that I wasn't playing around. I was already on my way. I had chosen a different road. Because if that patient that died had milder symptoms and still didn't make it, then I knew in my gut the white coats weren't going to save me. They hadn't up until that point. I mean, why would they now? So no, I didn't ignore what was happening in my body. I just trusted something deeper, a path where real healing lived. And I didn't stop searching. Because for me, the real doctors hadn't saved me. They hadn't even come close. If anything, they left me with labels, prescriptions, feeling worse, and no answers. And I realized something. Wearing a white coat doesn't make you a healer. And not wearing one doesn't make you a fraud. There are good doctors, there are blind ones, there are geniuses in humble rooms, and also, and beware of this, dangerous egos in pristine hospitals. And I wasn't meant to wait in another sterile room, you know? I was meant to walk through it, to find the ones who saw what others couldn't, to save my own life, so I could actually help save others. And while I was walking through it, while I was healing, hurting, and hoping, I also began to dream of something bigger. I started building my company. It took me years to get these formulas out into the world, to put Wholistic on the map, to turn suffering into support. I was still seeing clients. And confession, I was still collapsing sometimes, still picking myself up again and again. And at the time of this recording, actually, my eldest son is 5 and my youngest is 2. I want to tell you, don't wait to live. Like, was I supposed to wait until everything was perfect? Was I supposed to wait until I was fully healed? Until my life was stable? Until the storm passed? If I had waited, my sons wouldn't exist. So no, I'm not telling you to be reckless, but I am telling you this. You will die, whether it's from an illness or from old age or from waiting too long to start living again. The truth is, we are all dying every single day. Every second that ticks by is one we do not get back. So don't wait. You're not broken. You're not too sick and you're not too late. I need you to get your ass out of your bed, to stop using your diagnosis as a reason to stop living. You're allowed to be unwell and unstoppable at the same time. And if you've seen 10 doctors, 20 doctors, 50 doctors, and they've all told you there's nothing else to do, I am here to tell you there is. Now, maybe this is a diagnosis you don't want but need. There are incredible practitioners out there. They're not easy to find. Took me a while. And they don't always wear lab coats, or they don't always advertise on billboards or the internet. But they exist. Just like I found them. And if you're hearing this right now, it might just mean you have found one. I don't know if right now you're the one listening and you've just been handed a terrifying diagnosis. Maybe you're stuck in that paralyzing freeze where fear holds your hand tighter than hope ever could. So let me tell you a story that allows me not to dwell on the apparently bad luck I have been given in this life. And it's become the mindset I use while confronting difficult situations. This story carried me through my darkest nights. So here goes. Once upon a time, there was an old farmer. His most precious possession was a horse, his partner in tending the land, the only one he had to help him survive. One day, that horse escaped and ran into the mountains. The neighbors came rushing over, shaking their heads. "Oh my God, what a terrible luck! You've lost your only horse during harvest season. You will be ruined." But the old farmer simply replied, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" A week later, that horse returned, and he was not alone. He brought back a herd of wild horses from the mountains. The neighbors came again, this time rejoicing. "What a wonderful luck!" The farmer smiled and said again, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" Days passed. Then one day, the farmer's son tried to tame one of the wild horses. He was thrown off violently and broke his leg. The neighbors rushed in again, shaking their heads. "Now it is certain you are cursed with bad luck. Who will help you with the harvest now?" But the old man just repeated, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" A few weeks later, the emperor's army came through the village. They were recruiting every young man to go to war. Every healthy son was taken, except for the farmer's son. His leg was broken. He couldn't go. So the neighbors came one final time. This time with tears in their eyes. "Oh, you are so lucky. Your only son. He was the only one who was spared. The others may not come back." And the old man replied, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" So, you might be listening to this because you've been diagnosed. Maybe it's dysautonomia. Maybe it's POTS. Maybe it's Lyme disease with every terrifying co-infection in the book. And you didn't get the ignorance is bliss version of the story like I did. And maybe that sounds like bad luck. But really, good luck, bad luck, who knows? Because here's the truth. If you're paralyzed right now, emotionally, spiritually, or physically, maybe that diagnosis is the thing that's waking you up. Maybe it is the reason you found me or another magic practitioner who was put on this earth to help. Just to help you remember your power. You might think you stumbled here by mistake, but maybe it was divine guidance. Maybe this is your sign, your breadcrumb, your nudge from the universe. A whisper that says, "You're not done, you're just beginning." And in my many fights with God, with the universe, with whatever force was out there watching me, I begged, I screamed, I cried on bathroom floors and hospital beds. "Heal me, please." I actually felt abandoned, but deep down, beneath the anger, the bargaining, and the surrender, I knew something sacred was unfolding. And if you're here listening, maybe something sacred is unfolding for you too. And I'll never forget what I whispered in those moments when I wasn't sure I'd make it. I remember saying, "If you heal me, I will help heal others. I will walk beside them so they never have to go through this alone." That was my deal, my promise to the universe. It wasn't always peaceful. It wasn't always, like light and surrender. I actually had a love-hate relationship with the divine. Some days I felt held, and other days I felt abandoned. But deep down, beneath the bargaining, beneath the rage, and the raw prayers, I knew something sacred was really unfolding for me. I wasn't just being broken, I was being rebuilt. And if you're here, maybe you are too. And I promise you, I'm not going to tell you to just stay positive or keep soldering on. I want to tell you what I actually do and how I can help. Okay, so do you know what I just realized? I haven't told you, I've told you my credentials, but I haven't told you what I actually do. You've heard my story. You know what I survived, but I haven't told you how I help people like you. People who are exhausted from being dismissed, misdiagnosed, taking every supplement. You hear it's good, magnesium here, vitamin D or whatever. And you're told everything looks normal. People who've done all the right things, clean eating, meditation, supplements, and still feel off. People who are scared, fed up, and wondering if anyone will ever actually see what's going on. So let me tell you, I run a global telehealth clinic called the Holistic Detox. I live between 3 countries, but I work with clients all over the world because all I need to begin is a very simple hair sample. That's enough for me to run a full body bioenergetic scan. A scan that doesn't just look at symptoms. It looks at the why. Bacteria, parasites, mold, co-infections, hormonal imbalance, toxicity, emotional residue, the layers behind the label you've gotten, the things most doctors miss. If I see something deeper in your scan, I'll send you for a functional lab, but only if we need them. No guessing, no supplement roulette, no more, try this and see if it works. I will send exactly what your body's asking for. And for my US-based clients, I ship your full protocol to your door. Personalized formulations, supplement timing, nutrition, guidance, emotional and nervous system support. Because you cannot heal a body that's in fight or flight. And I'd like to tell you my approach to healing POTS and dysautonomia and a lot of chronic illnesses or mystery illnesses that there's really no mystery at all. They all have root causes. Here's what I've learned in POTS and dysautonomia and all of this diagnosis. They are not random. There is a unique combination of imbalances that trigger an autonomic nervous system shutdown. In other words, that cause dysautonomia or whatever it is that you're feeling. Each case is different. In my practice, I have never ever seen 2 dysautonomia POTS patients with the exact same root cause. Not one. Some have underlying infections. Some have toxic exposures. Some have autoimmune flares. Some have emotional trauma manifesting in the nervous system. See, this is why cookie cutter medicine does not work. And this is why I refuse to accept when doctors tell patients, this is just how your life is now. Take a pill and deal with it. No, I refuse to accept it for myself. And now I refuse to accept it for you because I found the way out and so can you. Why I built Willistic. I built a supplement company like I was telling you about, Willistic. Not because I wanted to sell products, because I couldn't find what I needed when I was the one trying to survive. Remember Joyce and that herbal cocktail she gave me? That was not in a pill. So when I was fighting to stay pregnant, when I was vomiting from cramps so bad I couldn't stand, and when I was bleeding for 8 days straight every month like clockwork, there wasn't a single product out there that actually addressed what I was going through. Remember, I had PCOS, endometriosis, anemia from all the bleeding, hormonal collapse that was robbing me of my chance to have a baby. And PMDD, so severe, it almost swallowed my life. And if you don't know what PMDD is, it's like PMS on steroids. It hijacks your mood, your thoughts, your energy, and your joy. So no, I didn't build Willistic because I had a brilliant idea. I built it because I was so desperate. And because I knew there were thousands of women just like me fighting invisible battles without real support. In the beginning, I would literally blend herbs by hand and combine supplements. I tweaked the ratios, test the effects to adjust again and again until something shifted. You see, there is a therapeutic dose that people need. And not just for me, but for the women I've been treating for years. My long-term clients, some who've been with me for over a decade, started using my formulas. And then they told me something I will never forget. I don't want to live without these. That's when I knew I had to get them out into the world. Every formula I've created since came from that same place. Lived experience, clinical evidence, and real healing. Take hormone and PMS support, one of my supplements. It is not just for hormone swings. It is for the overloaded liver, the anxious mind, and the cortisol crash behind it all. Hormone and PMS support is to ease emotional spirals, soothes cramps, supports the liver, and balances progesterone. It's not just, like an Advil for cramps. That doesn't work. Calm? I love this one. It was created during my most extreme anxiety. It was designed to regulate your nervous system and help your body feel safe again. Remember, you cannot heal a body that's in fight or flight. Boost? It is my first and my favorite. It doesn't hype you up. It helps you rebuild energy by supporting cortisol, blood sugar, and adrenal resilience. This is your beginning. I also have a menopause support one for more than hot flashes. This is like for the entire shift. There's mood, there's stress, even sexual desire goes out. I have another one called Thyroid Hair and Energy. This supports the metabolism, clears brain fog, and brings life back to your skin, your hair, and your nails. It has nutrients in it. Then we have Peri Detox and Peri Binder, because so many people can't even start healing if they're not eliminating. These help the body clear waste gently, and yes, they help you poop without needing 7 other products, just to get things moving. If you've tried any other parasite cleanses, that's what happened to me. Like, you just can go. So, you see, I want to tell you that every formula that I made came from a moment I lived through, a symptom I couldn't explain, a part of my healing that no one else was talking about. I couldn't sleep. I also created one for sleeping because if I took a sleeping pill or melatonin, I could not wake up. And that's the thing about being sick. You need to sleep to get your strength back, and I wasn't. I've created more formulas too, but each one is personal. But this story, it is not about ballistic. It is not about supplements. It is about a promise. Remember the one that I made to the universe when I was on the floor begging to live? If you help me heal, I will help others. This is me keeping that promise. Every bottle has a story. Every ingredient has a reason. And I hope you hear the strength in my voice when I say this. I didn't create these formulas to sell. I created them because when I thought I was gonna die, this is what saved me. Just like Joyce once handed me a bottle that gave me my body the strength to fight back, I am handing this to you. She helped me remember that my body wasn't broken. It was just depleted. And now I am paying that moment forward, not to pitch to you, but to let you know this exists, to remind you there is something else, because you deserve to feel strong again. And you deserve to heal. I wish I knew sooner, honestly. Like, I wish somebody told me, oh, just take this, and have a beginning and rebuild your energy and just balance your hormones. And that's the foundation for everything else. This isn't about pills. This is about support, about giving your body what it's really been asking for. This recording will still be here. The free guides will still be up, and I'll still be cheering you on. But if you've tried everything and nothing's worked, if you're looking for something real, I check them out. Because they're not just good, they are powerful, they are layered, and they were born from the need to survive the exact kind of hell you might be walking through right now. This is a promise. It isn't a pitch. If they help you heal, that's what they were made for. Now, let's get back to where this next chapter begins. That was my reality, and that is why I created the formulas, to offer real relief. Now, do you want to know how I healed and how hundreds of my clients are healing now? It comes down to this. 3 layers, 3 steps. Every condition that I treat, chronic fatigue, hormonal imbalance, PCOS, infertility, Lyme, parasites, dysautonomia, POTS, it starts with these. Step 1, balance your nervous system, because you cannot heal if your body thinks it's in danger. This is about rewiring your stress response, calming your system, sleeping better, recovering deeply. How? Okay, there's many ways you can do this. Like I said, I have supplements, but here you can support adrenal function. What are adrenals? There are these glands here that they regulate your cortisol and your stress levels. So you need to calm stress, hormones, and nervous system so that you can sleep more deeply and wake up restored. Number 2, you need to regulate your hormones, because without hormonal stability, your healing won't hold. No matter the diagnosis, this is foundational. Balance progesterone, estrogen, cortisol, and blood sugar. You need to support your thyroid and your metabolism. You need to improve your mood, your weight, your skin, your hair, and your energy. That is key. Step 3, drain and kill parasites, because nothing will stick if your body's clogged. Flush parasites. Yes, but BCA is a parasite too. Mold and hidden infections. You need to support bowel regularity and detox pathways. You need to boost your liver and immune health. And let me say this, you do not need 27 different protocols. You need the right sequence, the right support, and the right layers. That is how we rebuild. That is how we restore. And that's how you come home to your body again. So, wherever you are in your healing journey, your reset begins here. If you want to explore this path with me, just go to Wellystic.com and get your hormone balancing kit. It's just 1 month to hormonal balance. Let's meet the version of you that's been waiting underneath it all. But Before we end this chapter, I want to tell you something most people don't say aloud. The real work, the first layer of healing, it is not mindset, it is not green smoothies, it is not even supplements. It starts in something even more powerful. It starts in an emotion we feel every single day, but one we've been taught to hide, to bury, to feel ashamed of. But what if I told you that emotion might actually be the key? Because sickness, real chronic soul-shaking sickness, carries its own energetic signature. And yes, certain illnesses vibrate with certain emotions. And that's one of the secrets I had to learn the hard way. So, in the next episode, I'm going to tell you what I never expected to be my first gateway to healing. And in a minute, I'm going to tell you why. It wasn't courage. It wasn't resilience. It wasn't even faith. You know what healed me? It was envy. I'll see you there.